Hey guys, the Ace, and today I'm going to do something I haven't done for quite a while. So, today I'm going to tell a story. And no, that title is not clickbait. I am actually going to tell you about the time that I made an entire class of people depressed and worried about me and each other, all over one creative story that I wrote back in college. So, let's begin. Okay, so to set the scene, this took place back in 2021. I was making videos for this channel. It was predominantly just random games and sometimes stories. A couple weird ones thrown in. But at this point, I was in college. In the spring semester of 21, I decided to take a creative writing course. One thing I haven't really told is that I enjoy writing, more specifically, writing stories and novels. I have quite a few that I'm working on and still perfecting and adding content to. Maybe I'll publish them one day. I'm not certain. The point is, I wanted to take a creative writing course because I thought this would be not an easy grade, but something that could help my writing a lot. And it did. It did help a lot of it. Some of the stuff I already knew, like basic writing advice, but also other stuff that the teacher more or less critiqued my writing also helped out a lot. So I'm overall pretty grateful for that class. But it was during that class we had a big project, which was we had to write a short story and then everyone had to critique it. However, this project wasn't due at the same time for everybody else. We actually all came in waves instead. Every week we would have a couple people of the class have to share their stories and present them. This was all online, but we'd all had to share our stories and we all had to read and critique them. Give our own critiques on what we thought was good, what could be improved on, and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately for me, I was in group 2. I was grateful not to be in group 1 because, yep, you're the first people up. Good luck. Oh, by the way, you got only a few weeks to do this. Have fun. So I had an extra week, but I had no idea what I was going to write about. Originally, I did. So I started writing and writing and writing until I actually read the rubric and some of the guidelines that we're supposed to follow. And one of them was basically try to keep this like about under 13 pages or so. 15 was the absolute max, but 13 you should be done by page 13. I took a look at my page count of the story that I was writing. I was already on page 11 and I haven't even gotten to the main plot yet, so I knew this story was going to be something completely different. I'm actually still writing that story, by the way, but I couldn't use that one. And for the life of me, I just could not figure out a short story that I could write. I know there is plenty and plenty of plenty you could write about, but it also had a minimum page requirement of 8 pages minimum. So it couldn't be too short, but also you didn't want it too long either. We're reading short stories, we're not reading novels. Well, I had no idea. Until I looked at my music selection and I found an album from one of my favorite bands, Senses Fail. So I was looking at their discography and I found my favorite album from them, as I said in that one 2000s ranking video that I barely remember making, that was my favorite album from them. And I looked at it, I looked at the songs and the lyrics, I'm like, this is a story I could write. Yeah, let's do this. So I was typing it out on my computer while having the album cover, and a lot of people would walk up and they would recognize the album cover and were like, oh man, I love that. Or they'd look at it, and because of the album cover being kind of startling, they would be wondering what it is. And then I'd show them all the artwork inside, and the artwork is actually pretty cool. My favorite one, by the way, is the one for, I guess, would be Bone Crusher. It's the guy with the arm and the wings behind the arm. I don't know why I love it. It's my favorite one. But I was writing, I was literally writing a story, looking at the lyrics, seeing what I could integrate. And I put some damn effort into this, man. Like, I put in the song titles, all of them, except for Sick or Sane, I actually used the parenthetical 50 for a 20. I managed to squeeze them all in. Now, some of them actually blended in very well. Others were absolutely fucking forced. Like, even the best cowboys have daddy issues. That one was extremely forced. Regardless, I managed to squeeze in all the song titles and prominent lyrics from the whole album into it. You know, kind of haphazardly writing this in different locations. Like, I was writing this while at work, during my downtime at work. I remember going to a Mexican restaurant working on this. Like, I was working on this heavily because I had about 2 weeks before I had to kind of present this thing. So I finally finished it, feeling proud of myself, and then I uploaded it to the kind of like the Pilot class, if you ever had Pilot, or it's basically a school sharing platform where you'd upload and stuff. Well, I uploaded my story, and then I put in the description, I just put, if anyone gets what I'm referencing, I will love you forever. And so I let people read it and let the reviews come in. I did not realize how people would feel about this until I actually sat down and actually thought about it. Because in my haste of writing, I kind of just had a feeling in the back of my mind that this story was kind of fucked up and dark. And especially after I realized that and I was reading the other people's stories, theirs was much lighter in tone. Like, some of them were sad, don't get me wrong, but they weren't depressing. I went the extra mile and made them depressing. Inadvertently, okay? I was not intentionally trying to do this. That segues nicely into the student review of these. The first two that I've read, that I received, actually understood the reference. With the first one being like, oh my god, you remember this. Oh my god, I love you. Kind of this absolutely giddy going, wow, way to take me back to 2006. I remember listening to this album a lot back in the day. So that kind of made me smile, going like, yeah, someone else got it. And then the second person wasn't as giddy, but they understood the source material. They just said it was the last song. It was actually the whole album. Hell, I even entitled the story Still Searching after the album name. And they gave me some good advice, and then there was the plagiarism one where someone said, I'm not sure about the plagiarism rules and all this, about fair use and all this, so it seems like I'm tap dancing on the line. I don't know, I'm not really publishing it, I was writing for a shitty school story, so I don't think they would really come after me, especially the fact that I pretty much have this buried on my computer. I'm not going to publish it or anything. I was really happy. And then I started reading the other reviews and I realized, holy shit, this was dark. The next review I got, someone actually was crying throughout the entire duration because of how depressing it is. And I should probably explain to you what the story is for those who don't know. So, the reason why people thought this was really depressing was because the whole album is depressing. Very basically, it's about the main character, who really isn't named. I named him in the story, but he's really unnamed throughout the entire thing. He is an alcoholic. He has some severe mental health problems, who loses faith, takes more pills, kind of like they start to work, but then goes off medication, and then goes back into a deep depression, realizes the pills were kind of making him sense a false reality, goes to a church, jumps off of it, and kills himself. So, yeah, that's a pretty depressing story, all things considered. And that's kind of the way that I wrote it. I wrote it in the tune of the album, where it starts depressing, and then at the halfway point, it actually picks up after he goes to the therapist who gives him stronger medications, and it actually makes his life better. And then that's when I made the kind of the tone of the story much more brighter. That's when he starts seeing brighter colors. He actually starts enjoying life. He's letting shit go. He isn't being consumed by his path. He's enjoying life until he forgets to refill his prescription, and then blames it on the pills instead of himself. And then the rest plays out like the album. It goes from really dark to happy to extremely dark, and then it ends. So I say that because someone reviewed said I could barely read this. I was crying the entire time because I actually had a sibling that committed suicide. And when I read that, I realized, holy shit, I feel terrible for even writing this one because I don't like to like remind people of stuff like that. I mean, to be fair, how would I have known? To be fair, but at the same time, I don't even want to accidentally do that. I mean, I didn't write this with a message in mind, but there was a lot of people out there that were really sad by this, and I made an entire group of students completely depressed. Other people just kind of just took it at face value and didn't really get it. Some of them were really encouraging me. Like, I remember reading one of them. I thought it was more harsh, but it really wasn't. They were kind of like, being a little rougher on me, but it was to like, kind of like get me to go, get me to think. And I actually kind of appreciated that review of it. It was overall, they were nice, and I'm pretty sure they've forgiven one of my biggest sins of writing is I have a really, really bad habit of switching tenses. Like, I would switch between past and present tense in this, like, sentence by sentence by sentence. It's all present tense, but for whatever reason, it would be past tense all of a sudden. Like, a lot of people were forgiving of that one. And then the teacher was correcting it, got to page 2 and said, oh, okay, I give up. Because of how many tensing problems there were, how many tense problems there was with it. And that is still a bad habit of mine that I'm still trying to break while writing. But overall, I got an A, but that wouldn't end the story. No, instead I got a message from the Counseling and Wellness office asking if I was okay and if I was mentally well. First I thought, okay, why are they even asking me this? I replied back to them, said, no, I'm fine. I'm not, I was much more depressed at the time, but, I wasn't suicidal or anything. I asked them why, and then they said, well, it's because of the creative writing class you have. We had some people say that you were depressed and stuff at the creative writing class. And I'm like, oh my God. Kind of put my hand in my face going, oh my God. Because of that one story that I wrote, people thought I was actually depressed and this was a subtle cry for help. It wasn't, but I can see why they thought that after that story. So I don't know who sent it. To this day, I still don't know who sent the email, thought I was crying for help, essentially. But whoever they are, I thank you so much. Thank you for looking out for me. I'm fine, don't worry, but I'll love you forever for this even sending out a hey, could you just do a wellness check on this guy? I'm really worried. So yeah, guys, that is the story of how I basically made an entire class of students completely depressed, and how people started wondering if I needed help or not. All because of a short story that I wrote because I ran out of time, essentially, for a classroom project. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I've really wanted to tell a story for a long time, and I just couldn't really think of one until, well, now. So guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in another video. Have a good one.